Welcome to the Build Your Brave Career podcast, where we flip the script on the tired stereotype that women in and around the tech industry have to be stressed out, overworked, and underpaid. I'm Nicole Trick-Steinbach, the International Bravery Coach and your host. Forget what you've been taught. Bravery is not a personality trait available only to the brash. Bravery is a skill, and you already have it. Which is great, because building the skill of bravery is the most powerful way to creating the career and life you really want. As you build your brave, you will stress less, work less, and then earn more. This podcast will help you do just that. Let's dive in. Balancing the courage to pursue your ambitious, some might say wild career goals in balance with your values and relationships is a powerful but unexpected pathway to your brave career. And it's the pathway our guest this week chose for herself. As you listen to this episode, an episode full of really candid conversation about self-confidence and self-doubt, authenticity, taking risks, choosing to be true to your inner voice, choosing to speed up and make massive leaps, and choosing to slow down and release the reins. Please reflect on your own internal stories, the stories that were given to you by society, and congratulate yourself for those moments that you have chosen to rewrite or shift a story. Those moments you've chosen to be yourself and to own your strength, as my guest this week says, unapologetically. So who is our guest? Nupur Aggarwal is an established and global product strategist. She is a big fan of logic and efficiency because she loves taking complex systems and finding ways to make them more organized and understandable. She has over 15 years of experience in B2B, B2C, and platform products. She's worked in a wide range of industries such as security, e-commerce, travel, and retail. You are going to hear some wonderful insights into Nupur. I'm not going to spoil them, but what I will say is get ready for your jaw to drop and your heart to expand, for your own bravery and your assumptions of what brave can be shatter. Let's go. All right, Nupur. So we are kicking off. What is the brave career advice you wanted to bring to the conversation for your first ever podcast recording? I'm so excited about that. On this side, as being a guest, I know that you ran a podcast, but yeah.
Thanks, Nicole, for this opportunity. I'm super excited to be here and talking to you. So brave advice. So my brave advice to everybody out there and to myself also is lean in. Don't be afraid to lean in, right? We get into this rabbit hole of, telling ourselves, oh, if I do this 2 years down the line, this will happen. This may not work. We build that kind of a web around ourselves and we miss out the most important thing for us. We forget that once you come to that point, maybe what you're thinking today is not going to matter anymore, right? And this is something I got from Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In. She's like, don't give up things. Don't do things thinking ahead, right? I'll give an example, right? I was in this job, which I loved. It was my first job and it was on the rigs. I was the first woman on the offshore rigs.
Oh, we are not going to just jump by that because so many of my listeners will be like, what is a rig? Here we go.
Yeah.
People.
It's an oil drilling rig. And I was on them in the Indian Oceans working for Reliance, the guy who just threw a biggest pre-wedding party in the world.
Yeah, which PS was gorgeous. If you all have not seen this, it looks like a Bollywood movie with an even better budget than Bollywood movies usually get. But you were the first woman on an oil rig in the Indian Ocean. And you were like in your 20s, right?
I was, 22 or something, right?
I mean, come on, right there. So
yeah.
exciting.
It was exciting, getting flown onto the rig in a helicopter and everybody, of course, there are men everywhere else. And they were like, what the hell are you doing here? But
yeah,
I did well and I was loving it. If the adventure of it just being there. But then 6 months down the line, I'm like, maybe this is not the place. I need an exit out from here because I can't do this and I'm married and I have kids and this and that, which is not happening in next 6 months or
that's right.
Even 3 years down the line. I ended up giving up the job. But it's one of those examples, right? We kind of tell ourselves into. So my advice is, yes, be cognizant of what's coming in future. Have an exit plan. But just because something's going to happen in future, do not stop doing this right now.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The other piece of advice is be yourself and own your strength unapologetically. We don't realize, this is what I've been thinking for a very long time. And fortunately and unfortunately, I realize this now. But we don't realize as women, as girls, since very earlyhood, we're trained. We don't realize that we're designed and trained to be comfortable and uncomfortable, challenging situations from the beginning. It's the biology, the motherhood, everything. It's all on job training. You can never be trained for that. And even when you're growing up in, I think it goes beyond the Asian household, but when you're growing up as a kid, as a girl, you're like, you're going to get married. You're going to have family. You have to think about this. How are you going to do this? Right? It's an uncomfortable situation that you're getting trained for, that you're going to have, and you have to succeed in that. And I think what we have done over the years is we've taken this and we've tried to subdue ourselves and not convert it into our strength. So what I'm saying here is, unfortunately or fortunately, as women, we end up being in challenging situations at work and family and life by choice or by design, right? Or circumstances. And trust me, we are the ones who can handle them much better than anybody else, right?
Especially when we are who we are.
Exactly. Our sixth sense, our training throughout our life, our, just the immediate, presence of mind, right? All of that come into play. And we don't use that out of our strength, right? We may be in a job and we suddenly given a role that we are like, oh my God, I don't like it. I don't know if this one I want to, but I would say lean in, give it a chance, because you never know. It might turn out to be the best decision of your life. If you don't like it, worst case, what's the worst that will happen? You don't like it, you move out. Instead of moving out now, you can do that later.
That's right.
But having said that, of course, not being in a situation where you're not being respected is not something that you should take.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is something we should never, or anybody should ever take that, accept that, right? Yeah. That is something you have to fight for.
I just love how these two pieces go together. And these two pieces are actually so much of what we worked on together as well. So I love that you're bringing them as complementary, because if one is in a growth situation, what I would call a brave situation, and sure, maybe it's demanding. When I was a consultant, it was super demanding. I was on the road a lot. I didn't know how to say no. I didn't know how to delegate. So I was running against just sleep and eating and things like that, right? But it was a growth situation. And at that point in time, my core goal was not to have children. I'm actually, a lot of people around me are surprised that I have 2 children and that I think it's so amazing. I'm so glad I had this choice and this opportunity. But in my 20s, that wasn't something that I was planning against. So it was a growth thing. So I was stepping into more opportunities, and yes, I'll go to Norway, and yeah, I'd love to run that event in India, and at the same time, I had so many difficult and uncomfortable, because they don't have to be the same
Mhm.
situations, in which I look back now in my 40s, I'm like, wow, if I had brought my natural curiosity, if I had brought my love of fun and being cheeky and my desire to know people's stories, though, if I had brought myself, my true authentic self,
Yes.
those professional and personal, but professional situations would have been so much easier. They would have been filled with more ease, would have been more impactful for myself, for the company, for my colleagues. But I was attempting to force myself into what I thought a professional corporate person is like.
Yes. And we do that. I have done that all the time. But now I feel like, why? I mean, we have to be ourselves. And that's the beauty about all of us, irrespective of women and non-women, and each person. I think now the world is realizing it, that everybody brings a different perspective and brings something different to the table.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So it's almost like, if I was to sum it up a little bit and take some of the nuance out of it, it would be something like, hey, go towards what you want and be yourself while you're going towards what you want, and you will figure out the rest along the way. Because when we're utilizing this lean in concept, because I don't think we've been clear enough yet, but we're using this lean in concept, it's because so many women, I'm actually thinking of someone in my own life, really wanted to be a lawyer, really wanted to be a lawyer. But the message from her family of origin, which was pretty conservative, was, but if you're a lawyer, you can't have kids. So here she is, 19 years old, stepping off of the pre-law bachelor degree, because when she was 27, maybe she wants to have kids. And in that specific situation, what's so sad about it is that we're in our 40s now. She's never met the person she wanted to have children with. So not only is she not a lawyer, she also doesn't have the children that made it impossible for her to be, quote unquote, impossible to be a lawyer. And what you're bringing to the table is like, hey, look at today. Look at today. Yeah. And I love how you brought in the exit plan. Have the exit plan, but you want to have that regardless. You get crappy manager, or you just don't want to ride in helicopters to oil rigs anymore. I mean, that part of your story, I'm always like, nope, I'm out.
Well, those ones, yeah, that was not, it seemed most glamorous and fun, but those helicopter rides were not the funnest part, and they are not as glamorous as the ones that you see in the movies. Those are like different luxury helicopter rides. That's not what they take you to the rigs.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. This is incredible. Thank you so much. And I'm also seeing a lot of your journey in this, because, you know, you've lived in a variety. How many different countries have you been working in? Three. Yeah. So right now you're in the US. You're originally from India.
Yeah. And I grew up in Kuwait.
Right. In Kuwait. That's right. I always forget that part.
Yeah.
Every time you say it, I'm like, yeah, of course. I remember that now.
The Gulf War, where America came and saved us.
Yes.
Yes, they did. I mean, honestly.
Your sense of humor, Nupur. Oh my God, I love it. I love it. Okay. Anyways, I wish everyone could see the video. I do not release this in video format, but like, just that was so fun. Your sense of humor is fantastic. Okay. And I know that you're serious, but the face that you made is what made me laugh so hard. Okay. So, what is a story that you wanted to share with? I mean, we've already shared like 4 stories already, but like what story did you want to share with our community members in this brave career space?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you know, I'm a story person, so I have a few of them.
Yes. I love that. Yeah.
So let's start from a little beginning, right? So we moved to US in 2008. My husband had this opportunity to move to US, and that was also on the plan that we'll go to US, get our master's degrees and everything. So that worked out perfect. Moved here, everything great. But of course, I did not have a job. I did not have a visa. So I got this opportunity. I mean, I was interviewing, and by 6 months, I was in a state where I was like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life in my 20s, right? And then I get this opportunity. We are in Princeton, New Jersey, and I get this opportunity to work in a company in Seattle at the other far end of the world. So my husband comes and he's like, I'm like, yeah, I got it. But he's like, congratulations. I'm like, but I'm not going there. What do you mean? I'm not going to work there. He's like, are you sure you don't want to go there? Why not? I'm like, I mean, that's crazy, right? I mean, it's like the other end of pretty much the world. And then I was talking to another friend of mine, and she had this amazing idea. I mean, her perspective was very different. She was like, Nupur, you can do it if anybody.
Yeah.
You can do this. And the worst case thing, you don't like it, come back. Big deal. Go and give it a try. And I did that. I think that was the best decision at that point in time because I met amazing friends. I got out of that feeling where I was feeling like, oh, I was losing everything. I had no identity in this new country. I was dependent on my husband. Oh my God, and that 1 year over there was just amazing. And what I want to bring about over here is that it was again, maybe I show off that confidence to people. People think I'm very confident, but internally I don't have that. I did not have that. But coming it from my friend and coming it from my person, that the confidence that they showed that I could do that was amazing. And I'm glad that I took that step because I think that was back in 2009, 2008. I did that. But it just made a huge difference in my confidence in this new country, understanding the ways of life, meeting new friends, making my own social circle over here and my identity in this country. And also being able to see this amazing part of the US that most people don't get to see.
Yeah. I had no idea that you were going to turn that down.
Yeah, of course I was. I know that's what most people think that I wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah. What an oh my goodness. How old were you at this time?
28.
You were 28. You had already moved globally. You had already built so many. I mean, you're so skilled, right? Like your current employer also really acknowledges that, past employers did. And you get this great opportunity. And I know what it's like to be an expat or an immigrant, however we want to call ourselves, and need something in this country that is mine, it's yours, and having that identity. And every time we've talked about that and it being such a transformational moment in who you are, we've talked about that, if I remember correctly, in the terms of parenting, like helping our kiddos get ready to build things that are their own. And I talked about my move abroad, and you talked about your move abroad plus live on the other side of the continent. I had no idea you met that originally with trepidation, but I'm so grateful for your friend and for your husband who is so supportive.
Yeah. So that turned out to be great. And so, of course, it was a good opportunity. It got me working back into like work life and everything. I did that for a few years and moved back. But it was a good thing that, okay, it was a good booster that, okay, I can do this. I can again live on by myself, which was, I don't know why I was doubting that. But
again, the conditioning. It's the conditioning.
Exactly. See the conditioning. We don't use the conditioning to our benefit. We use the conditioning. We've been trained, right? And I can tell you that we have to be there with all these things that are going to happen to us in our life, prepare for us. But then when it comes to doing things that we want to do, we don't use that training.
Well, yeah. I mean, I love how you were like, this goes past an Asian household, because I 100% agree. Yeah. Like I was also indoctrinated with that if I did things for myself, I was selfish.
Yes.
Right. And I could go and I could earn more money, or I could travel, or I could do something if it was in service of someone else. Like I couldn't travel because I wanted to, because it was enjoyable. I had to go with a service project. I had to go donate my time.
Yeah.
which, by the way, is very, very detrimental to many places of the world. But there is such a deep, deep, deep indoctrination, which goes back to lean in. You don't need to plan for things that might not happen and are not today or in 6 months. We don't need to do that.
Yeah. So, and this has been the story not of my life, but you can see that everywhere, right? Nicole, I know you have struggled with this. Everybody has. And
yes.
And when you start putting pieces together, I'm like, oh my God, it was like my aha moment. I'm like, oh my God, I've been training for this and I'm not been using this. Like,
yeah,
what's wrong with us? Right?
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's the biggest trick. I have an earlier podcast episode that's about like confronting internalized misogyny. And I talk about specifically like identifying male managers, female managers, and I offer some practical tips for identifying and navigating through it. And in this case, I think that this is actually the most insidious, trickiest, most difficult part to unwind is that not only were we indoctrinated with this, but we like believe it.
Yeah.
And even I was just recently struggling with this because my family is we go back home to Germany every summer. My business goes on hiatus for a month. I'm like lightly available for my actual clients, but everything else stops. And I think it's really important to role model that. Most of the world takes extended holidays off, right? Like it's just in the US or North America that's a little cuckoo. But they're going for much longer than I'm going because we have some obligations and some weddings and things like that. And I was really struggling with like, oh, I'm so selfish. I'm putting my business ahead of my family. And because I'm really, really excited about being home by myself. Oh, girl. When I run the dishwasher, I'm not going to find dirty dishes elsewhere because I'm the only one right here.
I know. I mean, it's only the parents or the moms who love the Mondays.
Yes. Yeah, where it's like, go get entertained and educated and informed. And
well, I can have my coffee and I can actually go and have my adult conversations.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
The weekends are tiring for us.
So even though like you and I, we've done so much work on this, I still am like, oh, am I being selfish? Am I a bad mom? Because identifying it and then unlearning it, I just feel like it's going to take me forever. Like this is the consistent work to be myself and to enjoy myself.
Yeah. And I'm glad that we are talking about it and we're discussing about it. There's this concept of mind space and everything. So at least a new generation will not have to go through. Like a lot of things that we are grateful to our older generation that they had to deal with because they had those conversations. We were we benefited from them. Like we're grateful to them for those that we didn't have to do this. And we are uncovering newer, deeper things to, demystify for our younger generation.
That is so, we stand on the shoulders. Yeah. And then we become the shoulders to stand on. Yeah.
Oh, that's very well said.
Beautiful. Not mine. I'm quoting somebody brilliant. I don't know who it was. Probably my Angela or Roxane Gay or someone. So is there another story you'd like to share? Okay. Awesome.
The other biggest brave moment was when I started my startup back in 2014. So that was another one of a big step change. I was looking for jobs and I had this idea and then I was toying with this idea of audiobooks for Indian market, the historical sites, because we have like such amazing history. And I was again like on the fence whether I want to do it or not. And like a lot of self-doubt in me. Yeah. But then I thought about this way. And I think as motherhood, again, we give up a lot of things to take care of our kids. And we forget that if we do not pursue our dreams, what example are we setting for our kids? Right? So for me, it was like, okay, this is something that I've always wanted to do. I should take it on. It's going to be difficult for me. My kid is small. he's a toddler, 3 years, 4 years, but at least whether I fail or not, it'll give him the confidence that it's okay to pursue your dreams, even if it may not be the best conditions around, because that's never going to be good. Nobody's going to give you in a platter like a perfect conditions that you have experience, you have money, you have time, you have this. Okay, now go and pursue your dream. It's always going to be you have to prioritize your dream, but at the same time balance everything else in your life. So I think doing that, going through it was again I think one of the defining moments of my life. And definitely still a lot of self-doubt.
Yeah.
Still a lot of things. So I accomplished a lot, but still it was like, okay, am I doing this? Should I be done this? But I think that was another one of the biggest brave moment for me to actually take that on, work on it. In fact, 1 year down into this startup, I was working with my co-founder, and she was based in India and I was based over here. We are very good friends. And then we were about to launch and she's like, Nupur, how is this going to work? You being in San Francisco, I being in Delhi. I don't know how is this going to work? So I'm like, and I was feeling the thing also that we're launching in India. I should be there. And I came up with this plan. I told my husband, I'm taking my son, Arch. He was like 4 years old. Let me go and live with your parents in Jaipur, because fortunately they were in Jaipur and that was the biggest market. Let me go and live with them and let me pursue this. He's like, are you sure? I'm like, yes, I'm sure. I've worked out everything. This is how we're going to do. We'll have this to help her out. He'll get to spend time with his grandparents. I'll be there. And they were very happy.
Yeah.
To have spent them. And that worked out. And a week later, I call her, my co-founder, and I'm like, okay, this is the plan. I'm coming down to India. And she was like, oh my God, Nupur, you just made that. I mean, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm sure. Let's do this. And I think it was a great experience. I mean, I wouldn't trade that for anything.
Yeah. Wow. Like, I love that story because it normalizes self-doubt.
Yes.
Like, can we just normalize that we're all humans? And sometimes we're like, can I really? I mean, we talked a little bit about this when I became an entrepreneur. Also, it was like, oh, I have all this security. I have this big title. I have this, blah, blah, blah. And people who really, really love me really were not happy with me. Right. And would talk to me about, oh, but your kids need this and your kids need that and the kids need this and you need, and your husband and your house and your bills and your bill. And I was like, yeah, you, everything that you have just said is factual. Everything. And I am scared and I am not sure this is going to work. Oh, yeah. I still feel that way. A couple of days ago, I had a temper tantrum and I was like, that's it. I quit. I was like, I'm done. I can't, so I still have those moments. And I want my children to know, I want me to know, I want everyone to know that my dreams and my desires, they matter.
Yes.
They matter. And if I do this for, 40 years, or I do this for 14 years, or I do this, I'm over 4 years, but let's just go with 4 years. That's enough, right? Like, I get to decide what success is because I want my children, my clients, my listeners, my friends, I want all of them to decide what success is in their own brave ways. And so that story is like, yes, like, let's just normalize self-doubt because we all have it. I mean, my goodness, if this Olympic swimmer, Michael Phelps, I think is his name, if he also is like, yeah, every time I start, I'm like, hope I win this one. Yeah. I'm allowed to have self-doubt too.
Yeah, I think we have a negative connotation to self-doubt. And Nicole, and that's where you come in. You have helped me tremendously. We take self-doubt as self-doubt, but we don't think of self-doubt and being scared as we really care about what we're doing, that we want to do something well. I think we need to take a positive spin on that and think that, okay, I want to do my best self. I'm skillful, but I want to make sure that I put the best foot front, right? I'm taking
Yes.
care of all the nuances and everything. And I think that's the message that we need to start inculcating and learning ourselves. And that's where you come into play because working with you, you have taught me that, especially like going through my last year or few years with changes that,
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing well. Everybody, so it's very interesting. Like everybody sees me as a very confident person, very skillful person, but I never don't see myself, and there was a point when I started realizing, no, I am.
Yeah.
I have that skill. I have learned a lot and I can, the way I come across or the way I execute things is skillful and efficient and I'm effective. And I think that was another thing that, okay, that's when I realized self-doubt is normalizing self-doubt and kind of overcoming that and becoming my own person that, okay, now I feel confident. Not only I look confident, right? I think, and that's where Nicole, you helped me a lot, like understanding, no, like think from this point, how many people could do this? Or see, you've done so much and you've accomplished so much. And this is what this is your feedback. I mean,
Yeah.
so it was like internalizing that, like, okay, no, I can stop. I can take a ease and say, okay, now I am there, right? But
Oh,
not
thank
get
you.
overconfident.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. If a woman tells me she's overconfident, I'm like, we're getting close to the confident level. No, but thank you very much for that. I really appreciate it. And what really touched me, I had goosebumps all the way down my back and on my arms, was when you said, I not only look confident, I feel confident.
Yeah.
Because that is so much of my story as well, right? When I talk about being brave, right? To be brave, we first have to feel fear or insecurity or doubt or any of these things so that we can then choose to step into the skill. And I am not a naturally brave person. Like when people are like, oh, you're so brave, that totally makes sense. I'm like, yeah, but I had to learn this skill. I had to build the skill. That's why I can break it down into choices, because it's a constant choice for myself as well. So I just really honor you sharing that with us, just as per usual, incredibly generous. It's just one of your core traits. You are so generous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Speaking of, was there a brave role model you were going to share with us?
Yes. So brave role models, what I realize is I take inspiration. You can be inspired by women around you everywhere, right? There's no one role model. Definitely like one of the person that I really look up to is Indra Nooyi, because she's like amazing, the way she talks, how much she's achieved, and she's like so like to the point, right? Like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is how we get. Very decisive and very articulate in her conversations. And at the same time, she's very humble, right? She'll say, okay, these were the challenges I was facing, like in one of our interviews, she said, like, initially I was like, okay, all these people, consultants, are all dressed well, these girls. And then I'm like, I realized that, okay, that's not competition. I'm going to beat the competition with my brain. So I might as well work on that.
No, for our global audience, introduce us to me. Tell us a little bit about her.
So she's the CEO of PepsiCo.
Yeah,
she was the longest running CEO. And she was the one, like, she comes from a small town from the southern part of India. And she came here I think she came to Yale to do her master's. And that's from there on, she joined the consulting firm. And then she rose to this, at some point, she became the PepsiCo CEO. So, and she brought about a lot of defining changes in the company, right? I mean, at that time, it was like going for the fun drink. That was probably not good for you. And she was the one who changed the direction of the company to, okay, fun, but good for you, right?
Yeah.
So like how the world was changing, she was able to kind of what the company's direction towards that. And she accomplished a lot.
And she put in a lot of safety and a lot of ethical supply chain, identified areas of the supply chain that were utilizing enslaved labor. So her book is called My Life in Full: Work, Family, and Our Future. And, one of the things that I really appreciate you bringing her in to this conversation is that while her path, looking back on it, which reflects to your advice, right? Looking back on it, it's like, oh, that all makes sense. But in diving into the choices that she made, they did not make sense at the time.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And again, like lean in, because here's a woman who, she came from certain amount of privilege in the world for sure. And she was in places that, quote unquote, she was not supposed to be. Right.
Yes. Yes. Very much.
Yeah. So when she was the CEO of Pepsi, she was one of, I think, 4 or 5 women who are considered brown women in a CEO role worldwide.
Yes. She broke this glass ceilings like way, way out there.
Yes. Yeah. And then decided to take people with her, which is fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing, Indra, with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. But then everywhere around us, you can get inspired by women all over the places, right? Women who choose not to work and spend time with their family because they want to raise kids in a certain way. They want to be there for them. Women who have overcome grief in their life. Women, you'll see, who have defied all the obstacles and made to what they are. Like, and I think even we don't give them enough due, but I think every woman who continues to work and competently while having a family and kids, I think it's inspiring.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. Oh, such a good conversation. Is there anything that you wanted to cover that we did not cover?
Oh, we did cover us.
I know. It's so good.
Yeah. But Nicole, I want to thank you that like the way you helped me calm down and start believing in myself, start feeling confident. It has really helped me. And I think people around me, especially my husband, can see that difference, because otherwise I would be like, in the sense like anything that was difficult or was not going my way, which I thought should be going, I would have just like jumped and taken something else, which is not always the right way. Sometimes you have to slow down, let things happen, take their course, and then the right path will emerge. I think slowing down and taking a deep breath and believing in yourself is something you've taught me, which I am so grateful to you. I feel so calmer. I feel so much less stressed. And I can see that how it's helping me in my current job.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. This is one of the things I love about being a one-on-one coach, is getting to partner with incredible women like you. And, sometimes for you, I mean, you were stellar. You were getting great feedback. You were getting opportunities. The company was facilitating your move from one place to another place and investing in you, but it was taking a bit longer. And so it was like, hey, take a nice breath. Hey, like, let's focus in on what's working. What do you want? How can you have those conversations? And then with other clients, with episodes, because I think longtime listeners would be like, wait, what? Nicole told someone to slow down. Yeah, because other clients, it was like, take bold action, lean in, don't accept the disrespect, right? It's like one of those beautiful things about being, in partnership with you and with other clients is supporting you in your way towards success, your brave next steps. So thank you for that. I receive it. I appreciate it. I'm grateful for your trust and for sharing these beautiful stories here on this podcast. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nicole.
All right, everyone, we will catch you in the next one. Thanks for listening. Bye. If the Build Your Brave Career podcast is helping you flip the script in your own career, if it's helping you reduce your stress, work smarter, or create more income, please share this with a friend. Till next time, you are already brave. Now go build your brave.